time lapse captures the moon as it gradually enters maximum eclipse and slowly returns to normal. We can also get clear photos for key stages of the eclipse. Hi everyone, welcome back to DWARFLAB Academy. I'm your host today, Claire. First, thank you so much for all the likes and support in our recent tutorial video. Yeah, we did put some effort into it, so we're so glad you like it. In today's episode, I will begin with the basics of the moon photography, then get some deep dive into the lunar eclipse on August 27, 2026. So, let's begin with the setup. Before we begin, make sure the DWARFLAB app and your device firmware are updated to the latest version. Place your dwarf on a stable, level surface or mounted securely on a tripod. Choose a location with a clear view of the sky. The moon itself is very bright, so normal satellite pollution is really not a main concern. If you plan to capture the entire lunar eclipse, check your battery level and available storage as well. Once everything is ready, let's enter solar system mode and capture a regular moon image first. First, switch to solar system mode from the shooting interface. Now select moon. After entering moon imaging, we first need to place the moon inside the telephoto view. You can start with a wide-angle view to find the moon's general direction. Then use dual lens locating or use the joystick to adjust the telephoto direction. The moon doesn't need to be perfectly centered at this point. As long as it appears in the telephoto view, you can tap track. The device will automatically detect the moon, center it more precisely, focus, and begin tracking. You may notice a brief pause and the telescope tube may retract for a moment. This is part of the position recalibration and is completely normal. After a short moment, the moon will return to the center of the frame. If the lunar edge or craters don't look sharp enough, check and fine-tune the focus here. Next, let's stay in photo. The auto parameter provides suitable settings for regular moon imaging. Start with 20 to 30 frames. That is usually enough to check the lunar detail and stacking results. Now tap Shoot. As capture and stacking finish, craters become clearer, and that is the complete workflow for regular moon photography. Next, we'll dig into the workflows for a much more unusual change in the moon. A lunar eclipse happens when the sun, Earth, and the moon are roughly aligned, with Earth between the sun and the moon. Earth's shadow has a lighter outer region called the penumbra and a darker inner region called the umbra. When the moon enters the penumbra, the brightness change is usually subtle. When the moon begins to enter the umbra, we can clearly see Earth's shadow moving across the lunar surface. The eclipsed portion of the moon may appear red or copper colored. This happens because sunlight passing through Earth's atmosphere is scattered and refracted, allowing more red light to reach the moon. The event on August 27, 2026 is a partial lunar eclipse, not a total one. However, it is an extremely deep partial eclipse, with about 96.2% of the lunar surface entering Earth's umbra at maximum. Next is our first and recommended way to record the entire eclipse. Time lapse. After moon track is complete, simply switch the shooting method to time lapse. Set the interval between 10 seconds to 30 seconds. A 30-second interval keeps the file count manageable and produces about a 20-second time lapse and at 30 frames per second for the 5-hour event in New York, for example. For a smoother motion, use a 10-second interval for a final video of about 68 seconds. First recommendation, turn on AE. It is optimized for lunar eclipses. During partial phases, it exposes for the bright area to preserve lunar detail. Near maximum or during totality, it adapts to the darker eclipsed area and automatically increases exposure to review the right moon more clearly. As long as the lunar detail looks good in the preview, leave AE on. There's no need to keep changing exposure or gain during the time lapse. Keep the filter and white balance consistent. During the partial phases, keeping AE on is usually accurate. Near maximum eclipse, start with AE as well. If the eclipse red area is still not clear enough, slightly increase exposure or gain. Use up to 2-second exposure based on the preview. If the image is still too dark after adjusting exposure, increase gain. Start at 0 on dwarf 3 and try 20 to 40 only if needed. Start at 40 on dwarf mini and try C to 80 only if needed. If you temporarily use menu settings, switch back to AE as the moon brightens after maximum so the time lapse can continue smoothly. Once Earth umbra leaves the moon, the main partial eclipse capture is complete. See, it is that simple. Time lapse with AE is still the main workflow for the entire eclipse. This next session simply shows how to capture a clear stacked photo during the time lapse. When you want to preserve a key stage, stop the time lapse, but always keep the moon track active. Do not reposition the moon. Then switch the shooting method to photo. You don't need to set up another group of parameters here. Exposure and gain should already be confirmed in the time lapse preview, so you can usually shoot directly after switching to photo. Now tap shoot and let the device complete the stacking. When capture is complete, you get a finished stacked photo directly. Do not forget. Switch back to time lapse, confirm the moon track is still active, then resume capture. You can repeat this at a partial phase near maximum. In later editing, simply join the time lapse clips in chronological order. This gives you both a record of the full eclipse and clear stacked photos from key stages, all captured within dwarf. Now let's take a look at the final results. This is a lunar image captured with regular moon workflow. This is the partial lunar eclipse recorded with time lapse. These are stacked eclipse photos captured by pausing the time lapse, keeping one track active, and switching to photo. Let's finish with a quick recap. I'll keep the settings card on screen so you can take a screenshot. Lunar eclipses happen almost every year, so like and save this tutorial and follow DWARFLAB. You will be ready to capture the next one. If you capture a beautiful moon, a lunar eclipse, or anything interesting at all, we'd love to see it. Your image might even get selected as a DWARFLAB pick. I'll also keep sharing more tutorials and useful tips in this channel, so let us know in the comments what would you like to see next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of DWARFLAB Academy. Does your culture have a special story or legend about lunar eclipses?